Afghanistan needs a new Marshall Plan. Unless the economy of Afghanistan is put right, no peace plan or no transition is going to deliver. It was a war economy which is now in a bad state. The country's government may not admit. I think Afghanistan has really now reached the most significant crossroads in its history. Probably more significant than even the Russian invasion of Afghanistan and the Russian withdrawal from Afghanistan, I think. Because of the last 20 years of war, the Afghan DNA, the Afghan people has gone a massive change. And before I comment on the situation, the politico-military situation, my experience after numerous visits to Afghanistan and meeting Afghans visiting Pakistan, I am of the opinion that the Afghan people are a different crowd as compared to what they were prior to 2002-03. That is to say, the landing of foreign forces in Afghanistan. The important thing is that they have tasted democracy, social freedom, a modern system, albeit restricted to urban centers. Yet there is a feeling of liberation in the minds of Afghans, the young generation who have sort of grown up in a freer socio-political environment than what it was during the Taliban regime, or even prior to that when there were communistic governments in Afghanistan. Women have greater now freedom. They have tasted an emancipated environment. There are a number of ladies who are parliamentarians. There are ladies who are running organizations, even businesses. Female education is almost accepted as a norm in most of the parts of the country. The youth is now optimistic and vibrant. So we must remember that this environment will not allow the erstwhile extreme conservative environment which people are afraid of. First of all, this is the biggest force against re-Talibanization of Afghanistan, which is being talked about in the political circles. Now, coming over to the geopolitical situation of Afghanistan, in my opinion, the Americans have the change in government, the Biden government. Apart from delaying the withdrawal beyond 1st of May, the deadline set by Mr. Trump, have connected it to 9/11 2021 as the withdrawal date. Now, this amounts to connecting the Taliban or the Afghans with the events of 9/11, which now, in hindsight, seems to be a debatable thing. So they have two problems. One, they have delayed the withdrawal, and two, they have connected to 9/11. The Taliban had nothing to do with 9/11. If at all we are to believe the Americans, it was the Al-Qaeda. So therefore, that is soured the dish, so as to say. The Ashraf Ghani government itself seems to be in a quandary which way to go. Ashraf Ghani in last few days has been talking a lot about the ability of ANSF to control the situation post foreign withdrawal or post American withdrawal from Afghanistan, which to me as a military observer and having interacted with the Afghan military and the security forces is at best a very optimistic view. Primarily due to the faulty structure of the Afghan national security forces. Almost bulk of the hierarchy is non-Pashtun and the rank and file is Pashtun, which is not a very comfortable situation in my opinion. The other thing is their operational ability to sort of overcome any attempt by the Taliban to militarily take over. In my opinion, the Taliban may not need, in case they want to take over, in case the process fails, The Taliban do not need really, classical military operations. They have a large percentage of the country, some people saying 50%, some talking of 60%, under Taliban influence, so as to say. Now, influence is a very broad term. Then the National Security Advisor, he is of the opinion that, like some other people, that the US should stay for another year to 2 years so as to have a better or a smoother transition than what is going to happen. Now, these two perspectives are connected to the tenure of the Afghan government, Mr. Ashraf Ghani. And having been elected last year, he is looking forward to a 5-year tenure. In my opinion, they are the only losers of the peace process. If the peace process takes place earlier, the earlier they leave their palaces and everything. The foreign minister has a different perspective. Mr. Hanif Atmal, he is talking in a different line. So there seems to be a divide in the political government of Afghanistan. Coming over to the possibilities, primarily I see only two scenarios in which one would be smooth transition or a rough transition from this government to the next dispensation. Both have their own implications and effects. But I am of the opinion that transition will take place, whether it is a smooth transition, it is a quicker transition, or a rough transition which will take place over a slightly longer duration. And if both of these transitions fail, I think then we will witness civil strife in Afghanistan, which will be a regional fiasco. The only way to sort of obviate a rough transition and a no transition is to 3 steps that have to be taken. First of all, the peace process has to be sort of fastened or at a quickened pace, and should be decided yesterday. The second issue is of regional involvement. That is to say, the regional countries, not only Pakistan, even without Pakistan, Russia, China, Iran, all these countries should become the guarantors of a transition. And finally, Afghanistan needs a new Marshall Plan. Unless the economy of Afghanistan is put right, no peace plan or no transition is going to deliver. It was a war economy which is now in a bad state, which the country's government may not admit. But in my opinion, unless a new Marshall Plan is enacted, Afghanistan will go into economic chaos, which is worse than a military or a power chaos, because poverty, breeds unrest, and unrest breeds instability, and instability helps no one.